Hey guys! So my hubby and I took a trip up to Marysville today, and we are at a fundraising event for Melissa Ackison, and she is running for state senate in Ohio. And we were able to meet Melissa when she was running for senator, U.S. senator against what's the guy's name again? What's his name?
It was Jim Renacci.
No.
Gibbons.
what? Gibbons, Renacci.
Yes.
They don't really matter. Anyway. We met Melissa, and I just totally fell in love with her. She opened up her house to us and invited us over for dinner one time, and I've just loved her ever since. So she's just one of those chicks that you just can really feel like you have known forever. So, and that's what I appreciate about her. She's not just the typical politician.
Thank you. That's a compliment.
So anyway, I'm here with Melissa, and I just wanted to kind of interview her a little bit today, and just kind of see where she's at. So, hello.
Hi, Libby.
Thanks for meeting with me, dude. I appreciate
Welcome.
it. Thanks.
Anytime.
Yes. So you're going to be running for?
Okay, so this is the Ohio Senate, and it's District 26. So this includes Union County, Marion County, Morrow County, Crawford County, Wyandotte, Seneca, and Sandusky.
Okay.
Ta-da!
Yeah, that's quite a variety,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
Okay. So what exactly sets you apart from the average politician, I guess?
I'm a human. I guess we can start with that. No, I think what sets me from or makes me different from your average politician is I'm very comfortable with who I am. I'm comfortable with being myself, and I find that it's a lot easier to work through issues just being myself and being very honest about the life that I've lived and where I am now and what's led me to politics. Because I didn't grow up wanting to be a politician. I don't think anybody does. I don't know anybody who grows up wanting to be a politician. For me, it was the multitude of failed federal policies and local policies that led me to the place that I am now, and recognizing that we didn't have citizen legislators in the General Assembly or even at the federal level. So a lot of times what happens is you get people who are able to finance and fund a campaign. Many times they're very wealthy, and a lot of times they haven't lived the types of lives that I have and most average citizens have lived, with struggle and difficulty. And so many times when pieces of legislation or when bills are cranked out, it's really not within a practical sense. And so I really seek to put citizen legislators, middle class, farmers and all kinds of folks in office to serve us.
So, and that's what I really appreciate about you, actually, is that you're standing for the average person, and you're not what part of the establishment politicians. I'm sure that's going to be such a challenge to kind of fight against as an outsider trying to come into politics.
It is, because the average person doesn't understand. They think, oh, well, Melissa's a small business owner. She's worked for years in the private sector. She has a great personality. She's friendly. If she gets out and shakes enough hands, that's all that it's going to take to get somebody elected into office. And so I do a lot of education explaining to people that there's a big financial component that goes along with this. And to get good citizen legislators who live like us, that means we've got to work together, and we all have to be a part of this. So it's a real educational process for people who support me, explaining to them that there's cost that goes into marketing and advertising and signs and buying commercial time. Those things don't just fall off of trees. And so you hold fundraisers and you explain the importance of preserving our republic and the importance of all hands on deck to get involved and get good people elected. Yeah, the establishment, I don't think I would be by any means a dream candidate of theirs. I'm more concerned about doing what's right and winning in life than winning in an election. So I'm not going to bend to be a good little soldier and march in line. That would be all for nothing if I did this and then I let people down. That's a big concern for me.
And I appreciate that very much. You kind of stand up to the status quo. I mean, you kind of push back. And I love that.
I love to push back.
Yeah, love it. I'm a pushbacker.
Good.
Yes.
Let's get our pushback on.
So How has the polling, have you taken any kind of internal polling, anything like that to see where?
No, we've got about, this is not until March that the primary happens. So it would be early to do polling at this point. I'm going up against a retirement aged establishment candidate. So with a poor legislative history, poor conservative rating, a moderate, and that's me being kind. Part of this was people coming to me from those more conservative groups, the Tea Party groups and some of those different organizations, not establishment related, saying, we know that you'll be able to take this guy out of his role. Yeah. We want to get you in there. So this was, about 48 hours after the U.S. Senate primary took place, I was getting calls about this particular position. So it took me prayer, it took me time, it took time meeting with my pastors, my husband, everybody to say, are we ready to go through another primary again? And it's very obvious how necessary it is. Frankly, the donor class has been very kind as well, because small business owners who have grown their business into what it is, they're sick and tired of the way that the Ohio legislature is business as usual. They want small business owners and people who have worked in the private sector in there. So people have been very kind, very generous.
That's wonderful. Absolutely. I noticed today at the fundraiser that Ohio Value Voters was here.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Sure. Yes, they're good friends to me. I make no bones about that. They're Diane and John are like, parents to me, political parents or parents in general. We started working together for the Protect Ohio Children's Coalition. So between Ohio Value Voters, between Linda Harvey and Mission America, Diane and John Stover, as well as myself, to elevate those issues with the children dancing in bars, dressed in drag, prepubescent children, dancing and all that went into stopping those issues and having legislation drafted or having a bill drafted to be able to knock this stuff off. That's why I received the award today. Because when you stand up against some of those more radical concepts, it's not easy to do that. It came with death threats to our family and came with us having to get the sheriff involved and authorities after people had threatened. They turned it into a Melissa is anti-LGBTQT versus Melissa is pro protecting children and making sure they aren't exploited. So when they gave me that award today, they know what it's like at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to be up and to be stressed, investigating this stuff, figuring out what's going on, and actually doing something about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I've seen some of the comments that some of these people make to you online, and it's just vicious.
Yeah.
Super vicious. They have started a campaign to kind of harass you at the fair, the local fair, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the thing with me is, and part of it is where I grew up, we grew up in West Columbus, and I always say, West Columbus doesn't raise any punks. We're not going to back down if somebody wants to come up against us, especially if it's doing the right thing. And so I think the more that I am made fun of, the more opposition I have, the more that people are pushing against me, it just makes me recognize how much more important it is that I do speak up and I say something, because the average citizen, they know that these things are wrong, but they're scared because they know bullying comes along with it. And with me, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. And I appreciate that very much, very much. So what are some of the things that you would like to change, or what's your platform going to be once you're elected into your position?
Thank you for the question. So areas of focus for me specifically are the public school systems and educational institutions. So I have children in the public school systems. As you know, between Rich and I, we have 4 sons. And I'm heavily concerned with where Ohio schools are operating as it relates to Common Core, as it relates to an abundance of testing. It's not showing us that just dumping more money into the school systems and dumping more of these educational initiatives, it's not resulting in us preparing a workforce for tomorrow. So you take a family like my husband and I, Rich and I didn't go to college. We didn't go to a 4-year school. We used vocational schools, trade opportunities. I used a year of homeschooling. And you can still create very productive individuals, giving them the skill set and giving them the apprenticeship and vocational opportunities to get them ready for the workforce. A 4-year degree isn't for anyone. So I really seek to create educational opportunities and environments to where we ingrain in our children that real hard skill sets, tangible skill sets to go into the workforce. We've got a skills gap there. And it's more than me just talking about it. My life is a reflection of that. So we understand what that looks like. So that's immensely important to me, as the school systems and paving a different way. Small business reform and business reform in general is extremely important. Most people aren't aware of this, but Ohio is on par with New York and California when it comes to regulatory and compliance initiatives. So we don't create the most friendly business culture and friendly business environment for an entrepreneur to thrive and to grow. So we have to be able to take a look at, do all these regulatory boards make sense? Do all these compliance initiatives make sense? People who have never started a business from the ground up or worked in the private sector, they have no idea the real world implications of policy. So small business reform, tax reform, all of those things are critically important. I know the president's done some good things at the federal level, but we need to drill down and focus at the state level also. And then the other piece of this is, I talk about often with the schools, with the trade schools, is our jobs. Ohio is plentiful when it comes to jobs right now. I travel this district, and as someone who owned a staffing company, saying we have jobs available doesn't translate into a productive work environment or a pool of individuals who have a desire to actually want to work and to contribute. So there are some things we need to look at right now that have been detrimental to a productive environment, such as Medicaid expansion, such as some of our entitlement programs that have really created a better economic opportunity for people to entrench themselves in those systems versus get productive and get back to work.
Well, good stuff.
Thanks.
Oh, good stuff. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks for letting me do this interview.
You're welcome.
I mean, it was just a pleasure, and I thank you for allowing me to come into your home and
You're welcome.
just talk to you a little bit and kind of just see where you're at with everything. So
it's hard to run for office.
I'm sure.
And anybody who thinks that it may be easier if you're an extremely wealthy individual or if you're a creature of the establishment, but to step out and put your neck out on the line, to do your own fundraising, to do your own marketing, your own advertising, hire and recruit your campaign management team, inspire people to volunteer and to help you, and then have the woes of the public who are, coming after you, some very aggressively. It is not for the weak at heart, but primaries are so incredibly important because now we're able to show you, and my opponent should be able to debate with me and to say, who do I want in the General Assembly representing me? Is it going to be Melissa Ackison, or is it going to be the other guy? Is it going to be the mom with 4 kids who has children in the public school systems, who's lived through these failed policies and who actually has a plan? Or is it going to be the same old, and no one wants the same old, same old?
Yeah. All right, appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey guys, so here's another edition of Get to Know Your Rep. I believe that this is an important project for myself to go out into the public and speak to our elected officials and those vying for your votes so that we can bridge that gap between the community and the officials. So thank you so much for your time, and stay tuned for another episode.